It's day 113.
Of the 29th year and beyond.
Well, today we're experiencing a very cold, wet, rainy day, and it's sleety.
Yeah, it's gross.
Yeah. Um, as I think about how things change with the weather so drastically, there's seasonal changes, and I believe that we're living in a day and a time because of whether you want to call it global warming or whatever the climate changes that are impacting our world. Uh, when I was a kid and growing up, we had four, count them, four distinct seasons. Now it appears that, okay, one bleeds into the other. I mean, out of sequence, length of time, all of that. Would
Oh,
you?
yeah, definitely.
But in your relationship, there's those seasonal changes as well, and they can be as drastic as some of the seasonal changes that we experience in the weather today. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, yeah.
What would be the cause for those drastic seasonal changes in one's relationship?
Well, there can be a lot of changes, seasonal changes, but one I immediately think of is just being exposed to different things, meeting different people. You know, if you go out and you got a new job, and now all of a sudden you're traveling and you're going from this place to that place, and you come home and say, "Hey, I want to go here, I want to go there," or you meet somebody and say, "Hey, let's go rock climbing." Well, that's something you've never done before, but you say, "Okay, we'll go rock climbing." You say, "Hey, honey, let's go rock climbing." They're like, yeah, I mean, all of a sudden you're doing things you've never done. Another shift can come from birth of a child or even death of someone in the family can also shift a relationship and because then you start to reflect on the different things that may be going on in your life. So there's lots of different reasons why there can be a shift in a relationship.
Uh, and that's true because each encounter, each experience does have the ability to heighten your awareness to things, like you said, that you never considered, that you never knew. And so it can present those kinds of seasonal changes in your relationship. But one of the things I've said for years is, blessed are the flexible, for they shall not be bent out of shape. Understand that things are going to change whether we want them to or not, right? And with that said, we get to determine whether or not whether we want to adjust to those seasonal changes, resist them, ignore them. Either way, if you don't deal with it, it's going to deal with you.
Oh, without a doubt. And I think that when it comes to seasonal changes, I think it's just like going outside and say, "Oh, today it's chilly. I need a sweater." And you go back in and you get a sweater. You adjust it to what the climate is. It's the same thing in a relationship. You have to be flexible. You have to be able to move with the flow. If somebody says, "Hey, honey, I want to go see a play," and you've never gone to see a play. Well, I've never been to see a play, or I've never been to the opera. But your spouse is interested in doing it. So just try it. You might like it, you might hate it, but at least you gave it a chance.
Well, I was thinking about seasons and I was thinking about weather conditions and whatnot. There are times where, like, you start out the day and it's like bitterly cold and you all bundled up, but as the day goes on, then it warms up. And for those of us who grew up with this kind of thing, we know to dress in layers.
Yeah.
And so, that's something to consider in your relationship, layers.
Yeah.
Because there are going to be times when you need to add, and there are going to be times when you need to subtract, right? Based on what's going on. But again, I know it's not a beatitude, but I think it's a great attitude. Blessed are the flexible, for they shall not be bent out of shape. I think the more that we're willing to make the kinds of adjustments that need to be made, it it allows your relationship to breathe, to continue to grow, to expand. And it gets back to what we had talked about. I think this was yesterday's message about how do you keep the music playing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the soundtrack of your life should evolve as your relationship evolves.
Mm-hmm.
So, be mindful that relationships will change like the seasons do, and sometimes maybe as drastic as they do at present. But you get to determine how you're going to deal with these changes, because, make no mistake, you either deal with them or they're going to deal with you.
Because sometimes your relationship will be really warm And sometimes your relationship will be really cold.
Brr.
Yes. But if you shift with it,
All
if you
right.
move with it,
Remember the layers.
there you go.
Add when you have to add, subtract when you have to subtract.
Exactly.
Until tomorrow, if the Lord says the same.
Bye.